Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo, Maheshwaraḥ, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 43rd session of our series Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. Arjuna in the second verse of Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga, asked Bhagavan, how can one be united with God after death? Bhagavan started answering this question from the 23rd verse and concludes his answer in the last three verses, that is 26 to 28, which shall be explained today. Concluding the 8th chapter, we progress to the first two verses, that is first two verses of the 9th chapter, Rajavidya Yoga. In this chapter, he reveals his supreme glories that inspire reverence, devotion, and bhakti. Dr. Anupama, Dr. Kiran, Srimati Indumati, Dr. Vasumati, and Dr. Sheila will present these verses. Dr. Komal Prasad shall moderate today's session and he will give us a brief introduction to the day's topics. Over to Dr. Komal Prasad, sir.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We are seeing the final few verses of chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga. The topic of chapter 8 is Krama Mukti. So here we see two destinations of human life, two paths and two travelers. Okay. And what are the two destinations we are going to see? So all human pursuits, which can be summarized as Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, can be divided into two, based on whether they are finite or infinite. Among these four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, and Kama are finite. The only infinite human pursuit is Bhagavan, or the spiritual goal, the ultimate spiritual goal of human life. Rest all, which is clubbed as prayers, or finite goals, materialistic goals. And the only infinite spiritual goal is Shreyas, the knowledge of the self, the true knowledge of your own self, which is otherwise called the infinite knowledge, or the Shreyas. So these are the two possible goals of human life. And if we choose the destination of infinity, what are the paths which take us there? So here in Akshara Brahma Yoga, we are seeing there are two paths. One is Krishna Gati, one is Shukla Gati. Krishna Gati leads to finite goals. And what happens is that it is a person who takes this route will be led to the finite goals. he's a ritualist. He does noble karmas. He's a karmi. He does social service. He does panchamahayagnas. But what happens? There will be an element of selfish motive. Sakama karmi. Okay? So what happens is he will use God as a means to gain his personal finite goals. In such a situation, so he will be led, as it is explained in chapter 8, to higher lokas up to, but not up, including Brahma loka. And after that, once the punya of whatever noble work he has done gets expired, he will be taken back and he will be born again in a new form, in a new janma. It is like the conveyor belt where the security check happens in airports. A person who is too much attached to his things, belongings, maybe for example, you take a nail cutter in his bag. So what happens? The bag will come back again to be checked again. So as long as you hold on to your selfish motive, the bag will keep coming back again and again. And that baggage is punarjanma. So again and again, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam will keep on happening for the person who enters this Krishna Gati, because the goals are finite. And the second path is called Shukla Gati, which will take a person to Brahma Loka. It's a higher loka. So because this person is a nishkama upāsaka, so for him the goal is God in itself, the knowledge in itself. But the path he takes is he is a saguna upāsaka. He visualizes Bhagavan in a form, with a form, which is a stepping stone. Because he has started his journey towards that direction, it's called Shukla Gati. So it will take him to the higher loka, and from there he will have an opportunity to go through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana of the scriptures, and from there directly he attains mukti, liberation, or moksha. So that's called Krama Mukti. So that's the topic of this 8th chapter, is to highlight what happens to those people who will not get into the jnana. Okay, so this is given a choice between these two paths of being a karmi or an upasaka. Which one to choose? If you have to choose only between these two, then we'll have to choose to be a upasaka, nishkama upasaka, saguna nishkama upasaka. And from there, we can step up to being a nirguna upasaka, which will further lead us to moksha, liberation. So these are the two paths, two destinations, finite and infinite. And the two kinds of travelers we see, the karmi and the upasaka, the ritualist as well as a nishkama upasaka. So this is the subject matter of chapter 8, which is generally considered an odd chapter, because whereas chapter 7 and chapter 9 are a kind of continuity which will deal with the jnana, the nirguna Īśvara upāsana. So that continuum is maintained between 7th and 9th chapter, whereas the 8th chapter is interposed in between to show us about what happens to the people who get into these two paths of Krama Mukti. Okay? So that concludes the the 8th chapter. And in the later part of this today's session, we'll get into the chapter 9th, the next chapter, Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga. So here, Bhagavan starts by telling that I shall impart this jnana along with vijnana, which is the greatest secret. That is jnana vijnana sahitam. So, which is Rajavidya and Rajaguhya. So why it is Rajavidya? Because this is the knowledge. This knowledge alone is the one which is liberating knowledge. And why it is Guhya? What is so secretive about it? It's secretive, it's Rajaguhya, because for an unprepared mind, it is incomprehensible. So there's a way to prepare our minds to get this secret. Okay. And going ahead, Sri Krishna says, this is the greatest knowledge, the greatest secret, the most sacred, which is directly attainable, unopposed to dharma. For a prepared mind, it's easy. It's directly attainable, very easy to pursue, and it's imperishable. Rajavidya, Rajaguhya Yoga. So this is the start of the next chapter, chapter 9, which we are going to see today. So now we'll start with the verses, the last few verses of chapter 8, starting with verse 26, which will be explained by Dr. Anupama. Over to Dr. Anupama, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Verse 26. Shukla Krishne Gatihi Ete Jagataha Shashvate Mataha Ekaya Yati Anavrittim Anyaya Avartate Punaha. This verse describes the two candidates, the two paths, and the two destinations of the Sukshma Sharira after death. Who are the two candidates called Jagataha here? They are the karmis or ritualists and the upasakas or meditators, the saguna, Īśvaraḥ, nishkama upasakas. Here Krishna gives the names of the two paths. First being the Shukla Gatihi, the Marga, also called Devayanam, and Krishna Gatihi, the Marga called Pitriyanam. The Sukshma Sharira traveling along the Krishna Gati is guided by various devatas. Some of them are Dhumaha. Those traveling along Shukla Gati are guided by devatas, some of them being Agnihi, Jyoti, Ahaha, Shuklaha, and Uttarayanam. Why is the Shukla Gati called the bright path? There are three reasons. First, jnana prakashatvat, upāsana being a type of jnanam. Second, the upasaka will attain Brahma jnanam in Brahma loka. And thirdly, Shukla Marga is presided over bright deities like Agni Devata, Shukla Prakashena Devata, etc. Why are these two paths called Shashvate or eternal? Shashvate means eternal or nitya, because creation, also called samsara, is eternal. Samsarasya nityatvat. When were these two paths created? Along with the universe. Along with the Vedas were created the universe, the jivas, and these margas. Therefore, these paths are Jagataha Shashvate Mata, as eternal as the creation. What happens to these margas during pralayam? During pralayam, they resolve into their potential or avyakta form. With the next srishti, they manifest along with the creation. Finally, the two destinations are svarga loka and brahma loka. Anavrittim yati brahma loka, path being non-returnable. Candidate nishkama saguna Īśvara upasaka, marga shuklaya, and destination, of course, brahma loka. How are the two destinations different? Shuklagatya anavritam yati. Why? Destination being Īśvara Prapti. One gets Krama Mukti via Brahmaloka. And Krishna Gatya avartate punaha. Why? Because destination being svarga prapti. With his noble karmas, the jiva acquires punyam, reaches svargaloka, where once these punyas are exhausted, he returns. Punaha avartate. Punaha means bhuyaha bhuyaha. Again and again. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. He helplessly returns to the cycle of birth and death. Thank you.
Namaste. Hari Om. Guru Bhyo. The Yoga Brashta topic of the 8th chapter can be broadly divided into lattice consisting of 4 aspects. One is Shuklagati and Krishnagati. Another is Karma Marga and Upasana Marga. We have studied previously that Shuklagati, Krishnagati mainly deals with the time of death and is not a key aspect. Just because a thief dies during a good muhurta doesn't mean he goes to heaven or attains moksha. It doesn't happen. A person takes a deliberate spiritual path. For such a person, if he happens to die in a good muhurta, then this is one of the additional points for him. And now, as we are reaching the last few verses, that is the penultimate verse, we will study in detail about what happens in Karma Marga and Upasana Marga, the 2 main paths that is being discussed in this chapter. Before that, let us study what is the difference between yoga and marga. Yoga, or the link, means it is a step towards higher self here. For example, a person who is doing karma yoga is in a preparation perhaps to graduate to upasana yoga and jnana yoga. Here, the marga means for some reason he is in the ritualistic portion, that is of a karma marga. That means he is always concentrating on spiritual, ritualistic thing without thinking of the higher aspects. And he, for some reason, he believes that this itself may be a spiritual thing and this itself may lead to, either good end or good thing. That is what is the difference between the two. Now let us study the further. This was Naite Shruti Partha Janam Yogi Mukhyati Kaschana tasmāt sarvēṣu kālēṣu yogayukataḥ bhavarjana. O Arjuna, Janan, having known, you should know in detail. Here nothing is compulsory. Iti Shruti, that is 2 paths, na kaschana yoga. God will never get deluded. Tasmāt, therefore, bhava yogayukataḥ, be committed to meditation or upasana yoga. Sarva kālēṣu, very important, always at all times. What to meditate upon, we will study. O Arjuna, having known these 2 paths, no yogi gets deluded. Therefore, be committed to meditation at all times. Let us study the paths. The important aspect we are studying our path is Krama Mukti, which includes 2 paths, that is Karma Marga and Upasana Marga. Karma Marga is a ritual things. Always he's concentrating on doing activities, puja, etc., etc. And this kind of path leads to svarga, as we'll know, and it is back. In svarga, no new knowledge or anything is possible. You just have to spend all the coins you have earned. In Upasana Marga, it leads to Brahma Loka. There is a possibility that Brihaspati, the teacher of all gods, guru of all gods, will teach you and you attain knowledge, and from there you attain mukti. So always remember, it is jnana yoga which will provide mukti. All others are either preparation to it or as a step to it. And Satyayukti, Jnana Marga is the only thing, but it is not discussed here. We will study it. So here he says Upasana is better than Karma Marga. So between Upasana and Karma Marga, the wise will choose Upasana because this provides more conducive atmosphere to Jnana Yoga, and also Upasana of the Lord results in what we call Brahma Loka, and from then on Jnana Marga. When we should remember sarva kālēṣu. Always you have to remember. It's not possible that you are thinking something else and at the time of the death, suddenly God will come. You will remember. It is not possible. So always at the background, like a what we call tambura, you should always remember God. And then in the last moment, you will think. That is what it is called Ananta Īśvara Smarana. Even in seventh verse, he said, tasmāt sarvēṣu kālēṣu mam anusmara yuddhata. Always remember me or the Lord. That will take you to Sad Mukti, only to jnana. Having known above two paths, so we know in detail of the positive and the negative aspects of the two margas. There is no confusion. We always vote for upāsana yoga. And remember here, this is a match of bronze medal and silver medal. Gold medal, jnana marga is separate. So, Īśvaraḥ, always Īśvaraḥ upāsana, remembering or meditating upon what? Not on money or not on some riches, etc. Meditating upon the Lord, different aspects of the Lord, which we will study in the further chapters, and the meaning of the Lord, contemplating upon this will ultimately lead you to the jnana yoga or mukti. So if you at all you want to remember 8th chapter in one line, it is never forget God. Īśvara Smaranam Sada. Thank you very much.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In the previous verse, we saw that Lord Krishna spoke about two destinations, two paths. Naite sriti janan, yat margau janan. Having clearly known those two paths, one path leading to Krama Mukti, better future, and the other leading only to the inferior future, that is Punarjanma. Yogi means a viveki. An intelligent seeker will not get confused with regard to Karma Marga and Upāsana Marga. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna to choose Upāsana and add Saguna Īśvara Upāsana also to his karma. Thus, Krishna glorifies God as the destination. This shloka, number 28, goes like this. Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. Having known and practiced this, the yogi goes beyond all the punya phala which is promised with regard to the study of the Vedas, performance of the yajnas, practice of the austerities, and also the distribution of charity. He attains the supreme and primal abode. Word by word meaning goes like this. Viditva idam. Having known and practiced this, atyeti, the yogi goes beyond sarvam tat punya phalam, all that punya phalam, yet pradishtam, which is promised. Vedeshu, with regard to the study of the Vedas, yajneshu, in the performance of yajnas, tapahasu, the practice of austerities, cha eva, and also daneshu, in the distribution of charity, upaiti, he attains. Param, the supreme, cha adhyam, and primal sthanam, that is abode. In the next slide, we see yogi idam sarvam viditva. Here, yogi means Saguna Īśvara Upāsaka. Thus, yogi follows upasana by the way of param sthanam upaiti. So, he chooses Krama Mukti and attains God. And here, God is described as param adhyam sthanam, the supreme and beginningless abode or destination. So, adhyam means sarva karanam param, the highest, and sthanam means destination, which is none other than nitya Īśvaram upaiti. Lord Krishna says, the glory of this nitya Īśvara is the result is greater than all the karma phalam. Upāsana phalam is greater than all the karma phalam. A few karmas enumerated here are Vedeshu, Veda in the form of Veda Parayana, Yajneshu, performance of rituals, Tapahasu, practice of several types of vows, vratams, daneshu, charities in all these, and more karmas, yet punya phalam pradishtam. So the Veda promises punya phalam, but tat sarvam atyeti, the upāsana phalam transcends. It is superior to all these karma phalams. Karma phalam gives finite svarga, upāsana phalam gives nitya Īśvaraḥ. Thus, Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells Arjuna not to miss this opportunity. That is, take to saguna Īśvara upāsana and remember the Lord all the time at the time of death also. May you remember Lord and attain moksha. Thus, the Lord has indirectly answered the seventh question of Arjuna also. That is, prayana kala Īśvara's smaranam. In the next slide, we see Bhagavan Sri Krishna concluding this discussion says, if we have to choose between karma and upāsana, upāsana is better because it will give a person mukti or oneness with God after death, whereas a karmi will not get Krama Mukti, and of course, he will not get Jeevan Mukti also. A karmi will have neither muktis, whereas a upāsaka will at least get Krama Mukti. Lord Krishna, in the last verse, glorifies the yogi. Yogi means nishkama upāsaka, who will attain God, which is superior to all other ephemeral goals, which means kshanika and alpakalika goals. Thus, this chapter concludes by glorifying nishkama, upāsaka, and Krama Mukti. This chapter is called Akshara Brahma Yoga because these are the words with which Krishna's teaching begins. Om Tat Sariti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Akshara Brahma Yogo Nama Ashtamodhyayaha. Hari Om. Thank you.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Ataha Navamo Adhyayah. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anasuyave gnanam vignana sahitam yagnatva mokshayasye ashubhat. Tatparya, the Lord said, however, to you who are non-critical, I shall impart this gnana along with vignana, which is the greatest secret, and gaining which gnana you will be free from samsara. Lord Krishna introduces the subject matter, saying that I'm going to give you a superior knowledge, superior compared to the knowledge I gave in the last chapter. The knowledge given in the 8th chapter was Saguna Īśvara or Brahma Upāsanam. The topic in the 9th chapter is Nirguna Brahma Gnanam. Saguna Brahma Upāsanam itself is a secret topic. Nirguna Brahma Gnanam is a greater secret. Therefore, he says Guhyatamam. And that Nirguna Brahma Gnanam is the subject matter of the 9th chapter. He divides the knowledge itself into two types, Nirguna Brahma Paroksha Gnanam, the first stage, and Nirguna Brahma Aparoksha Gnanam, the second stage. Nirguna Brahma Paroksha Gnanam, he calls it as Gnanam. Nirguna Brahma Aparoksha, he gives the name Vignanam. What is the difference between Gnanam and Vignanam? Brahma Asti is Gnanam. There is Nirguna Brahma is Gnanam. Brahma Asmi is Vignanam. That Nirguna Brahma I am is Vignanam. Just as Saguna Brahma Upāsanam gives liberation, Nirguna Brahma Gnanam also gives liberation. Then what is the difference? Saguna Brahma Upāsanam gives kālāntare kramataha mukti. You have to wait. He says, I'm giving you a Nirguna Brahma Gnanam, which gives instantaneous liberation. This is the gist of the shloka. We'll go to the Bhashyam. Next slide, sir. Keeping in mind the Brahma Gnanam discussed in the earlier chapters, Krishna uses the word Idam Brahma Gnanam in this chapter. The next word is Tu, Idam Tu. Tu is to differentiate Brahma Gnanam of the 9th chapter from the Brahma Gnanam of the 8th chapter, which means however. Shankaracharya says Saguna Brahma Gnanam is false idea or misconception. Nirguna Brahma Gnanam alone is the right knowledge. Samyak Darshana. Shankaracharya also says Saguna Brahma Gnanam never gives liberation to Upasaka, but takes Upasaka to Brahmaloka only. The very fact that it can take only to Brahmaloka and it cannot give liberation indicates it is not right knowledge. Then, after going to Brahmaloka, what does the Upasaka do? He has to gain Nirguna Brahma Gnanam. Therefore, he says, Idam eva samyak gnanam. This right knowledge called Nirguna Brahma Gnanam alone is Sakshat Moksha Prapti Sadhanam, will directly and ultimately lead a person to liberation. Even though Saguna Brahma is non-factual, scriptures deliberately introduce non-factual Saguna Brahma as a stepping stone, which is called Adhyaropa Prakaranam. And later, the scriptures negate Saguna Brahma, and that is called Apavada. The Apavada quotation he gives to support Saguna Brahma Gnanam is Mithya Gnanam. Lord Krishna points out that this rare liberating knowledge I'm going to impart to you because you have got Shraddha in Guru and Shastra. Guhyatamam is in the Moolam, which means the greatest secret. And here the word secret means very few people have this knowledge. Next slide, sir. Pravakshyami is in the Moolam, which means I shall pass the knowledge to you. Krishna addresses Arjuna as Anasuyave because he is Asuya Rahitaya. Asuya meaning jealousy. But in this context, Asuya has got a specific meaning, and that is fault finding. Fault finding tendency is called Asuya, misinterpreting even the virtues of a person as a negative quality. This is called Guneshu Dosha Avishkaranam. Similarly, people finding fault with either Bhagavan as the teacher or Bhagavad Gita as the teaching, it is called Shastrēṣu Dosha Avishkaranam. Idam tu te guhyatamam pravikshami. I shall teach you this. And what type of gnanam Krishna refers to? Krishna gives the answer, Vijnana Sahitam. It is not mere gnanam, but a gnanam which is reinforced with Vijnanam. Shankaracharya defines Vijnanam as Anubhava Yuktam, gnanam which includes Anubhava along with that. Gnanam means Paroksha Gnanam born out of Avantara Vakyam, and Vijnanam, that is Brahmanubhava, means Aparoksha Gnanam born out of Mahavakyam. Anubhava is nothing but a cognitive intellectual phenomena in which I claim Aham Brahmasmi, and I claim understanding that I am Brahman. Other than the understanding, there's no other Brahma Anubhava. Next slide, sir. Having gained the Aparoksha Dhanam and having learned to claim I am Brahman without objectifying Brahman, Krishna tells Arjuna, you will be freed from inauspiciousness, which means samsara. And samsara means bondage. In Vedanta, samsara is jiva bhava or triangular format. Bondage is a mindset. Liberation is a mindset. This transition of one mindset to another mindset, born out of the clear understanding that I'm never a jiva and I'm ever a Brahman, this simple and profound phenomena is called moksha, a paradigm shift. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse 9.2 is Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartumavyayam. After introducing Brahmajnanam in first verse, now in the second verse, Krishna talks about the glories of Brahmajnanam by giving 7 descriptions. We'll see in the next slide. The first glory is Rajavidya. It is the greatest knowledge. In Gita Bhashyam, it is said it is equal to Vidyanam Raja. It is king among all types of knowledge. All the other knowledges are called Aparavidya, and this knowledge is called Paravidya. Deepti Atisaya Vatvat. It has got extraordinary brilliance because it not only reveals Brahman, but it reveals even everything in the creation. The next slide is Rajaguhyam. This is king among, that is, Brahma Jnanam is the king among the secrets. Here in Shankara Bhashyam, that is, Shankaracharya does not give the explanation for this. Swamiji gives Kathopanishad verse, Sarvana Vyapi Bahur Biryo Na Labhyaha. Many people are not interested in Brahma Jnanam. Among the interested, many do not get an opportunity to listen. And among the listeners, many don't understand it. So therefore, it is called secret as it is known by very, very few people. Here, next, in the same slide, Pavitram Uttamam. Krishna admits that there are many purifying agents like doing japa, parayanam, doing rituals, upāsana, prayaschitta karmas. Among all, the greatest prayashchittam is jnanam. In the next slide, in Gita Bhashyam, Acharya says Pavitram is equal to Pavanam or Shuddhikaranam. Pavanam, that is Pavanam Uttamam. Among all this, that is Idam Sarvesham Pavanam Uttamam. Among all, this is the greatest, that is Prayashchitta or purifier. Utkrishtam. Aneka Janma Sahasra Sanchita Api. All the papam accumulated in thousands of janmas, that is Dharma Adharmadi. Punyam, Papam and Adi. Adi is nothing but the Karanam of it, which is nothing but, that is Ajnanam or the ignorance. Basmi Karoti, destroys everything. I think it's seen in the previous slide itself, the explanation of this. Yeah. Basmi Karoti, destroys everything. That is all Sanchita, Agami and Prarabdha, Punyam, Papam and Karanam are destroyed. How much time does it take? Shana Matrat, within a second. It removes the ignorance. Like the dream example. Just as dream is falsified on waking, in a moment the entire creation is falsified by the knowledge Aham Satyam Jagan Nitya. So Shankaracharya says, what to say about this purifying power of Brahma Jnanam? Avagamam. Jnanam is Sakshi Pratyaksham. Means it is on, that is Pratyakshena means Sakshi Pratyakshena. Avagamam means that is understanding or awareness. Whatever happens outside is called Indriya Pratyaksham. And whatever happens in the mind is called Sakshi Pratyaksham. So I alone know whether I know Brahma Jnanam or not. The example given here is, that is ophthalmologist checks the person for reading glasses. It's the person alone knows what he can read, even though there is a good doctor, good lighting, good room, everything. Similarly, whether I am in binary format or a triangular format, nobody else knows, it is only me. Like what? Sukha Deva Iva, just as happiness. So the next dharmyam in this slide itself is dharmyam, which is means which does not contradict dharma. It is not against shastric injunction. The Brahma Jnanam and dharmic life are complementary and never contradictory. The next slide is Susukam Kartum. Brahma Jnanam is extremely easy to get. Karma requires effort. Preparation of pramata requires effort. That is sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Because it is chitta samskara which comes under karma phalam. And jnanam requires only pramanam. So jnanam is not difficult. The example given here in Gita Bhashyam is, it is like ratna viveka vijnanam. It is like the differentiating knowledge or the viveka between a genuine gem and a fake one. So jnanam is not will-based, no effort is required, but it gives infinite phalam by removing ignorance. Avyayam means inexhaustible. Jnanam is in the form of vritti. Vritti of any knowledge cannot permanently remain in the mind. If it remains, the next knowledge is not possible. So Vritti Jnanam comes, removes the ignorance, and it also gets dissolved. The permanent one is nothing but the Vritti Jnana phalam. That is, Jnana phalam is imperishable or eternal. So Shankaracharya, in the end, that he gives a note, says, Atma Jnanam Shraddhayam. One should have Shraddha and Bhakti in Atma Jnanam to experience or to enjoy this. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hearty thanks to Dr. Komal Prasad, to all the speakers of the day for a very nice session, and to all the Vedantins who have joined us today. Friends, we shall be back on Friday, the 13th September 2024, with our 17th session of Mandukya Upanishad at 6:45 p.m. Param Vedanta teachers shall explain Karikas from 6 to 10 of Advaita Prakaranam. Remember to join us on time and benefit from the enlightening knowledge of Mandukya Upanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.